Picture this: your best candidate for a critical role just accepted your offer. There's just one problem. She lives in Lisbon and your company is registered in Austin, Texas. You don't have an entity in Portugal. You don't know Portuguese labor law. You are not sure how to run payroll in euros, what benefits are legally required, or how to write a compliant contract that won't put your company at risk. So, what happens next? For most companies, this is where great hires stall out. Weeks turn into months, legal fees pile up, and sometimes the offer just quietly falls apart. That's the problem we are solving today. Welcome to this session on how Deal is helping thousands of companies hire anyone, anywhere, in days instead of months without opening a single foreign entity. Over the next 25 minutes, I am going to walk you through exactly how global hiring works with Deal, the tools you'll actually use day to day, and how teams like yours are scaling international headcount without scaling their legal or HR overhead. Let's get into it. Let's start with why global hiring is so painful in the first place. Traditionally, if you wanted to hire someone in another country, you had two options. Option 1: set up a legal entity in that country. That means registering a business, opening a local bank account, understanding local tax codes, filing corporate paperwork, and hiring local counsel to make sure you don't break the law. This process can take anywhere from 3 to 12 months, and it can cost tens of thousands of dollars before you've even paid your new hire a single dollar of salary. Option 2: hire the person as an independent contractor and hope for the best. This might feel faster, but it comes with serious risk. Many countries have strict rules about what actually qualifies someone as a contractor versus an employee. Get it wrong, and you're looking at what's called misclassification risk, which can mean back taxes, fines, and even legal action, sometimes years after the person has already left your company. And even if you get past those two hurdles, you are still stuck with the day to day operational headache. How do you pay someone in Japanese yen when your finance team only knows how to run payroll in dollars? How do you offer health insurance in a country where you have no local HR contact? How do you make sure a termination is handled the way local law requires so you don't end up in a labor dispute? Multiply this by every country you want to hire in, and you can see why so many companies simply give up on hiring the best person for the job and instead settle for whoever happens to live in the right zip code. This is the exact problem Deal was built to solve. So, what is Deal exactly? At its core, Deal is a single platform that lets you hire, pay, and manage a workforce anywhere in the world, whether that person is a full time employee, a contractor, or somewhere in between, without setting up local entities yourself. Think of Deal as the infrastructure layer sitting between your company and the complexity of global employment law. You focus on finding great people and building your team. Deal handles the legal entities, the compliance, the contracts, the payroll, and the local expertise required to do it correctly in that specific country. There are three main ways companies use Deal, and I want to walk through each one because most companies end up using a mix of all three as their team grows. The first is Employer of Record or EOR. This is for when you want to hire someone as a full time employee in a country where you don't have a legal entity. Deal already has established entities in a wide range of countries around the world. When you hire through Deel EOR, Deel technically becomes the legal employer on paper, handling the local contract, statutory benefits, taxes, and compliance, while that person works for you day to day on your team under your management doing your work. The second is contractor management. This is for teams working with freelancers and independent contractors across borders. Deal generates locally compliant contractor agreements, automates invoicing, and consolidates all your contractor payments into one simple process. So instead of juggling 10 different contractors on 10 different platforms in 10 different currencies, it's all in one dashboard. The third is global payroll, which is for companies that already have their own legal entities in certain countries but want a single system to actually run payroll, stay compliant with local tax filings, and pay everyone, no matter the country, from one unified platform. On top of all three of this, Deal also layers in HR tools, immigration and visa support, equity management, and even background checks. So the entire employee life cycle from offer letter to offboarding happens in one place. Let's go deeper on each piece, starting with the one most companies start with: employer of record. Employer of record is often the fastest path to hiring internationally, so let's slow down here. Here's how it actually works step by step. Step 1: you find your candidate, say a product designer in Brazil. You already know you want to hire her, you just don't have a Brazilian entity. Step 2: inside Deal, you create an offer. You input her role, salary, start date, and any additional benefits. Deal's platform automatically shows you the employment costs specific to Brazil. Things like mandatory 13th month salary, vacation pay, and social security contributions, so there are no surprises later. This is really important because employment costs vary wildly from country to country, and what looks like a competitive salary on paper can look very different once local statutory costs are added. Step 3: Deal generates a locally compliant employment contract in the local language if needed that meets every legal requirement for that specific country. This isn't a generic template. Deal's legal team continuously monitors labor law changes in every country it operates in, so contracts stay updated automatically. Step 4: your new hire signs digitally, and Deal, as the legal employer of record, becomes her employer on paper. She receives statutory benefits required by Brazilian law, and Deal handles all the local tax withholding and reporting. Step 5: every month, payroll runs automatically. She gets paid on time in her local currency, and you get one consolidated invoice, no matter how many countries you are hiring in. Now, here's the part people often don't expect. For her day to day experience, almost nothing changes. She still reports to you, she still works on your team, in your tools, on your roadmap. Deal is the legal employer of record, but functionally she is part of your company. This whole process, from signed offer to her first day being fully compliant, can happen in as little as a few days in over 150 countries compared to the months it would take to set up an entity yourself. And critically, this removes the compliance risk from your shoulders. If local labor law changes, say a country updates its minimum notice period for termination or introduces a new mandatory benefit, Deal's local experts and in country legal partners are the ones tracking that, not you. Now let's talk about contractors because this is where a lot of companies start their international journey, especially fast moving startups. Working with international contractors sounds simple. You agree on a rate, they send an invoice, you pay them. But at scale, this breaks down fast. Imagine you have 20 contractors spread across 12 countries. You are manually reviewing invoices, converting currencies, tracking who's been paid and who hasn't, and worrying about whether your contractor agreements would actually hold up if a local authority ever questioned whether that person should really be classified as an employee. Deal's contractor management solves this in a few ways. First, every contractor gets a locally compliant agreement tailored to the laws of their country, so you're protected from misclassification risk from day one. Second, contractors submit their invoices directly through the Deal platform and you approve payments in bulk. With a few clicks, you can pay every contractor across every country in their preferred currency using their preferred payout method, whether that's bank transfer, PayPal, or other options. Third, Deal automatically generates the tax documentation both sides need. So at year end, you are not scrambling to produce the right forms for a dozen different tax jurisdictions. And because everything lives on one platform, you get a real time view of your entire global workforce spend, employees and contractors together, instead of piecing it together from 5 different spreadsheets and 3 different payment tools. Let's talk about what happens as companies grow and start opening their own legal entities in certain countries, usually their largest or most strategic markets. Even once you have your own entity, running payroll across multiple countries is still a massive operational lift. Every country has different tax filing deadlines, different reporting formats, and different rules about things like overtime, leave accrual, and severance. Deal's global payroll product lets you run payroll for your own entities on the same platform you're already using for EOR and contractors. That means one login, one dashboard, one place to see your entire global workforce cost instead of stitching together 5 different local payroll providers who don't talk to each other. And this connects to the bigger picture, the full employee life cycle. Beyond hiring and paying people, Deal also supports immigration and visa support, helping relocate talent and manage the visa sponsorship process in supported countries. HR management tools like org charts, time off tracking, and performance workflows, so your people team has one system of record for a genuinely global team. Equity management for companies that want to offer stock options to international employees, which historically has been an enormously complex area legally. Background checks run compliantly, respecting the very different privacy and labor laws that govern background screening in different countries. The idea is simple. Instead of assembling a patchwork of 10 different vendors to manage a global team, one for payroll, one for contracts, one for benefits, one for equity, it all lives under one login. Let's zoom out for a moment and talk about why this actually matters for your business beyond just convenience. Speed to hire. When you're not blocked by entity setup, you can act on great candidates the moment you find them instead of losing them to a competitor who can onboard faster. Access to global talent pools. Once geography stops being the limiting factor, your hiring pool goes from local to worldwide. That often means better candidates, more diverse teams, and access to specialized skills that might be scarce or expensive in your home market. Reduce compliance risk. Every country's employment law is different and it changes constantly. Instead of your legal or HR team trying to track labor law updates across dozens of jurisdictions, that responsibility sits with a partner whose whole job is staying current on it. Lower cost than the alternative. Setting up and maintaining a foreign entity is expensive. Legal fees, accounting fees, local HR staff, ongoing filings. For companies with just a handful of employees in a given country, an EOR model is almost always more cost effective than standing up your own entity. Simplified operations. One platform, one invoice, one place to manage your global team instead of a fragmented mess of local vendors, spreadsheets, and one off legal counsel in every country you touch. Put together, this is really about one thing: letting your company hire based on talent, not geography, while someone else absorbs the legal and administrative complexity that used to make that impossible. Let's bring this down to earth with a simple, realistic scenario. Imagine a 50-person software company based in the United States. They've been exclusively hiring domestically, but their engineering lead identifies a exceptional back-end engineer in Poland and a customer success lead in Mexico. Without a platform like Deel, this hiring process would likely stall. Someone would need to research Polish and Mexican employment law, evaluate whether contractor status is appropriate or risky, potentially engage local legal counsel in both countries, and figure out how to actually get money to two people paid in two different currencies under two different tax systems. With Dale, the process looks different. The hiring manager builds both offers directly in the platform. Deal shows the true employment cost in each country, including statutory contributions. Locally compliant contracts are generated and signed digitally. Within days, both new hires are onboarded, one as an EOR employee in Poland, one as a contractor in Mexico, and by the following month, both are already running through the same monthly payroll cycle, invoiced to the company as one consolidated line item. The engineering lead gets the best back end engineer for the job. The company avoids the legal risk of getting classification wrong, and nobody on the team had to become an overnight expert in Polish or Mexican labor law. That's the practical, everyday value this unlocks. So, if you're thinking about how this could apply to your own team, here's generally how companies get started. You would typically begin with a conversation about your specific hiring goals, which countries you are looking at, whether you need EOR, contractor management, payroll, or some mix of the three. From there, most teams run a pilot hire or two to see the platform in action before rolling it out more broadly across their international hiring plans. If you're currently blocked on an international hire, sitting on unused headcount because of entity or compliance concerns, or juggling contractors across multiple tools and spreadsheets, that's usually the clearest sign it's worth exploring further. I'd encourage you to think about your own hiring roadmap for the next 12 months. How many of those roles could be filled faster and by stronger candidates if geography wasn't the limiting factor? Let's bring this together. Global hiring used to mean months of legal setup, significant cost, and real compliance risk, which meant most companies simply avoided it and settled for hiring only within their own borders. That constraint doesn't have to hold anymore. With the right infrastructure in place, you can hire the best person for the job, no matter where they live, and have them compliantly onboarded and getting paid within days. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you have questions about how this could work for your specific team and the countries you're hiring in, I'd love to continue the conversation.